Hello, Oliver. We've got your 220S carburetors finished, and I'd like to go over a few things with you about the care and feeding of the carburetors. First, and the most important to me, is the cleanliness of your fuel. The fuel has got to be perfectly filtered, because if not, it's going to clog up this little tiny accelerator pump discharge nozzle, which has the orifice size of about the pointy end of a needle, the tip of a needle. Very, very tiny. And it's very, very easily clogged with the debris from the fuel system. And typically that debris is rust particles that are flaking off inside the gas tank, and they get past the factory filter. So I always recommend installing an aftermarket filter between the factory filter and the fuel pump. And if you do get to the point where this is no longer discharging or it has a broken stream, what you need to do is remove the 4 bolts holding the float bolt cover in place and pull it off. You can't disturb anything, can't hurt anything. Pull the gasket off, and then you'll have access to a little small screw, slotted screw holding this discharge nozzle body in place. Very carefully wiggle it out and blow compressed air through this way, through the tip backwards. Clean it out as best you can, and then from the bottom end you can blow through it and make sure that you have air going through the nozzle, and reassemble everything. You can't hurt anything. There's no adjustments to mess up. Speaking of adjustments, you guys are going to have to do this on the car. I've got the initial settings already taken care of for you, but I'm going to show you how this works. 1.5 turns, that's all you got to remember on both of these adjustments. This adjustment is your idle mixture screw, and this is what you do when the car is idling and warmed up. And this is very easy, and I'm going to make the initial adjustment for you right now. And 1.5 turns is basic on all these carburetors. What you do is you screw this thing in until it just stops turning, just touches. You don't have to screw it down hard. If you do, it messes up the brass needle. And in fact, I'll show you what you're screwing in here. Actually screwing in, quite literally, a needle. And if you screw it in real hard, this part here gets damaged and no longer does its job. And also the port inside the cast iron body here gets damaged. So we've screwed this in until it just touches, and then you're going to back it out 1.5 turns. So there's half, 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 and that's your initial setting for the mixture. Now then, for your idle, set this up here where you can see. What you can do is going to watch this lever right here. I'm going to back this off so you can see it moving. I didn't see it move there. Okay, there we go. Now it's moving. Now you can see it move. All right, so what we want to do is get to where it just barely moves, where this is just touching it, and we're going to screw this in 1.5 turns. So there's a half, there's a half, there's a half. So let's go over this again. Now you can see it moving better. I had not adjusted it prior to filming so you could see it moving. Okay, now just touching right there. Okay, so in, there's a half, there's another half, there's 1.5 turns in. Same thing on this carburetor. So back it out. Watch this lever. Stop moving. All right, there's our starting point. It's a half, half, half. That's your initial for starting the car, warming up the engine, and then once you get it warmed up, I use a tachometer to watch the RPM, and I disconnect the 2 carburetors so they're running independently of each other. It's out of the way. And you're going to get your a nice steady idle at about 500, 600, 700, and you're going to use a flow meter. I suggest the synchrometer. In fact, I'll go get it to show you. Okay, this is what the synchrometer looks like. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And this is the model we use, and obviously this is designed to go on 1-barrel carburetors, and it won't fit over yours very well. So what you do is you just take a piece of cardboard and cover the intake for your carburetors, and then cut a hole in the cardboard and put this on here, and you check your flow, and it shows you how much airflow is going through there. And what you want to do is get the two carburetors synchronized in terms of airflow, and that has to do with your idle adjustment. So you screw that in and out to where the carburetors are idling the same amount. And then you're going to go down here to your idle mixture screw, and you're going to screw this in and out to get the best idle. Now then, theoretically, when you screw this thing in all the way, it's going to kill the engine. And then but you don't need to do that, but that's how you test to make sure this is working correctly. And then when you back it out, you're going to get your better idle. And then when you back it out too far, the engine wants to die again. So what you're doing is getting the best idle speed as you adjust this needle. So I'm going to go back and start all over here. Just barely snugged it down. Half turn, half turn, half turn. That's your initial setting. And you're going to be adjusting it about like this, or like this. Not very much, doesn't take much. Just small incremental adjustments. And then what you're going to do is blip the throttle, zoop, 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 and make sure the engine does not backfire. If it backfires, screw this out a little bit more to give it some more fuel. That is how to adjust these things. Very straightforward, doesn't take much effort, just takes some time and patience. Also, another reason, let me get back to the fuel filtration. Another reason you want the fuel filtered is because down at the bottom of this stand right here that goes down inside here, there is a 4mm nylon check ball. This is an air corrector jet. This unscrews, and then below that there's another jet, and below that there's a nylon ball which acts as a check valve for this jet in this circuit. And what happens if you don't drive the car off, or if you got crappy fuel in there, is that check ball sticks, and right down in here you can see them. You got these little discharge ports, 4 of them at 90 degrees from each other, and out of those is supposed to come fuel. But if the check valve is stuck, you don't get fuel, and you don't get very good response from your carburetors. So if that ever gets stuck, shoot some B12 down in there. This stuff here is great for stuck carburetors. And just put your little nozzle down in here and spray away, and see if you can't get that check ball to become unstuck. Your original ones were removed, and they're actually in your, I think put them back in your old parts here someplace. Just so, I don't know if you can see them or not, but they're so teeny it's easy to overlook them. But anyway, all your old parts are included. We've got the gaskets to go on the base right here. You've got a thick phenolic gasket that goes on here, and the original gaskets original phenolics had this gasket material made into it, but they eventually wear off, so you can remove that paper gasket and put on and use these new thicker gaskets. But we've got these areas here machined down, so you're ready to go there. Let's see what else it's very critical I can help you with here. I did label them front and back, which is not necessary because the front carburetor has the port for the vacuum going to the distributor, and the rear has the cable coming in from the driver's area for operating the choke. Let's see. That's right. I did cover the sewing machine oil that goes in here. All right. I think you're all set. Thank you very much for saying it to us. I appreciate your patience, and I'll be available to answer any questions that you might need.